Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and with me as always is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
Doing great. How about you, Eric? Were you pampered all weekend for Father's Day?
I was not pampered, but I did have a good day.
That's good. I actually got to see my granddaughter. Surprise visit on Saturday. We just found out about late last week, but my son's got a really good friend that lives up here in Avon, and they wanted to surprise him for his birthday. So we got to see Cora for the second time in 3 weeks on Saturday. It was lovely.
Nice. And of course, now we're heading officially into summer, and the temperature reflects that.
Yep, absolutely. What was it? 7 or 8 weeks ago, we had snow on our deck. New England.
Yeah. Now it's 90, so.
Yeah, more like it.
As Mark Twain said, if you don't like the weather in New England, wait 15 minutes. It'll change.
Absolutely. So speaking about change, we're going to be talking a lot about today.
We are, as the country slowly starts to reopen, we're looking at the changes that businesses are going through, how they need to adapt. We're calling this Reinvent, Rebrand, Reopen. And for a lot of small businesses, this is very important. Right now, economists are predicting that 30% of small businesses in the United States are going to go out of business because of the changes due to COVID.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's incredible.
So we've been talking with clients about what we call an adaptive business model. And what this is literally being prepared to pivot between products and services depending on the situation. Now, to give credit where credit is due, the basis of this idea was actually stolen from Steve Jobs. When Steve Jobs came back to Apple, their product line was all over the place. And he decided the first thing he needed to do was to simplify. So he drew a square. He made this square into a chart, 2 rows, 2 columns. On the top column, he put personal. On the bottom column, he put business. On the left column, he put desktop. On the right column, he put laptop. He then got rid of any Mac model or anything that Apple was doing that did not squarely fit into one of those quadrants. It worked very well. It brought Apple back from the brink. So we've adapted that same simplicity model. Our labels are a little different. Our top row is products. Our bottom row is services. Our left row is offline. Our right row is online. And what we're doing with the adaptive business model is saying that every business needs to be able to have at least one offering in each of those 4 quadrants. This way, if you need to shut down a physical location again, you switch to the online model. If something goes wrong with online, you've got your offline model working. If you're focused on products and suddenly there's a problem in your supply chain, you can shift to the service model. But it's important for businesses to be able to have something in each of these quadrants. And a lot of people look at this and go, well, wait a minute, I don't see how it's applicable to my business. And to some businesses, like lawyers or doctors, actually, doctors, it is applicable, but to lawyers, not so much. But most businesses can actually use this model. Using retail as an example, you have the product you're selling in the store, that's product offline. You should have an online store, that's product online. Services, that should be things like personal shopper services, curbside pickup, things like that that will allow you to keep going when the store shuts down. So you have to think a little bit outside the box and figure out how you can have something in each of those quadrants for your business. And you pivot between the quadrants depending on the economic situation.
Yeah, and obviously this is critical for small businesses to adapt this type of philosophy right now to do that. And obviously you got to brainstorm a little bit to get this going. And communication is a huge part of it. I mean, we talk a lot about networking and developing strategic partners, but it's never been so important to really help each other, promote each other. And so using mediums such as Zoom and other virtual media meeting software to get together and really plan and strategize is so important.
Right, and transparency and communications are key, not just with potential partners, but also with your customers. And the ultimate example of this right now is Amazon and UPS. Amazon and UPS have more customers than they've ever had due to COVID. People started ordering online, the shipments went through UPS. As a result of this, both of these companies now have the lowest customer satisfaction ratings they've ever had because they're not communicating with their customers. Shipments are being delayed, but instead of, when you track your package, being told, oh, there's a delay, it's not coming, the track package still tells you, yes, it's coming today, until about 8 o'clock at night when it suddenly goes, oh, we didn't make it. We're going to try again tomorrow. I personally had 3 packages over the last 2 weeks that I was told were arriving that day for 3 straight days, and they didn't get there until the last day. You have to communicate with your customers. Let them know what you can and can't do. Be honest about it. You cannot tell people that you will give next day service if you know you can't do that.
Yeah.
Now,
Honesty is always the best policy. And, people, even though they don't want to hear the news, if they can plan on it and they know that what you say is going to happen, even if it's not when you want it, you have to be able to count on that. And obviously, if you can't count on that, that's why their ratings are so far down right now. Obviously, they've been swamped like they've never even anticipated being swamped. So, I mean, that bodes as far as businesses planning for the future in case something like this happens again. I mean, it's forcing all types of businesses to really fine tune the systems that they have and take a look at a lot of different things, both from their people policies to logistics like we're talking about here.
right, and people understand if you can't handle a sudden influx, as long as you're honest. And it's not just large businesses, it's not even just small businesses. A great example here in Connecticut, the Newington Public Library started curbside pickup. You could call them or go online, tell them the book you want, and then you could go and get curbside pickup. When they initiated this, they told people flat out, they cannot do this same day. You put your order in and you come the next day to get your book. Nobody had a problem with that because they were honest about it from day one. They knew they couldn't do same day. They told everybody, we can't do same day, it's next day.
Yeah, And the bottom line is that solves two things. Number one, you know exactly when you're going to get it, but it also, in these days where we have to be distanced from each other, prevents people from gathering together all at once, hoping that they're going to get it today. So, using appointments. I mean, we have one business that's doing very well here in Avon is Avon Prime Meats, because obviously they do all kinds of things there, and they have a store where they're limiting 6 people in there, but they have curbside pickup and appointments and things like that. And when you call your order in, you give them the window where you want to go there. And again, you're going to either stand in line or call them from your car when you're there, and they'll deliver it. But you have to put these plans together. Number one, to keep people distance, and number two, so that you can get it exactly when you're expecting to get it. And it may not be when you want it, but that's when you're going to get it.
And many businesses are going appointment only, especially barbers, hairdressers, gyms, massage therapists, where they might have taken walk-ins prior to this. Now everything has to be by appointment. And most of them are not allowing you to wait for your appointment in the business. You have to wait in your car, wait outside, depending on how they have things set up, because they have to limit the number of people that are in their location. I know one person that owns a beauty parlor, and he made the decision that he was not going to go into the business. Why? Because if, as the owner, he didn't cut hair, he was just there as the business owner. If he was in the store, it meant one fewer customer that they would be allowed to have in. So he said he's going to work from home. He'll do everything from his house. That way they can have an extra customer in.
Yeah, and that's working out well. I finally, after 4 months, I finally got my hair cut a week ago Friday at a place in West Hartford Center, and that worked out perfectly. Basically, they said they would call me when my appointment opened up, but I had to be there ready to come in, and that's the way that it works. They're doing this for doctor's appointments and massage therapists and so on and so forth. You have to wait outside. There's no such thing as an indoor waiting room anymore. That's your car, but that's just the way it is, and it makes you feel safer too, rather than hanging out with a few people waiting to get in there. So we're all distanced, have been in grocery stores for a while, and things are working out good in a lot of instances. There's a little bit of congestion in others, but I think that the way that businesses and people are starting to adapt to this quote unquote new normal, it's working. And especially here in Connecticut, we were absolutely paranoid when this first hit in April. And April was a horrible month for us, but we put in these measures starting at the end of March, and we're one of the states, as are a lot of the states in the Northeast, including New York City, who have coped with this pretty well because we put these measures into place, and now they're commonplace with us. Whereas if you go to other states where the curve is going up again, these are the people who are maybe a little bit more careless about it up front, and they're paying a little bit of the price right now. But hopefully, the measures will curtail this a lot moving ahead. But no, we're getting used to it, and it's going to stay like this a whole lot until we get that vaccine, until we get the treatment, until we get the testing there. And moving ahead, businesses have to plan that things are never going to be the same. So, we talked about the word reinvent. This is the perfect opportunity while we have the time to do that, and we're forced to analyze everything to reinvent different ways of doing things, different ways of communicating and delivering your services, and so on and so forth. It's so important. I mean, you and I in our consulting businesses have been spending a whole lot of time on Zoom, where we would formerly be going to meet with people and doing physical presentations. And whereas a few months ago, we thought that things might be pretty bad, this has actually turned into an opportunity for things to be busier than ever. And I think you're Exhibit A.
Yeah, it turns out there were advantages to switching certain things to virtual. One of the things we found is, we run networking events all over Connecticut. We've run events in New York and Boston where we've participated. But now, having switched these networking events to Zoom, we're finding that people are well, not worried about travel, obviously. So they're coming to a meeting that they wouldn't have otherwise gone to had it been in person. So not only are we getting people from all over Connecticut, we're getting people from Massachusetts and New York. We had a networking event recently. We had somebody from Toronto on the Zoom call because they're all looking to build networks. And now that people have gotten used to virtual and used to doing things by video conference, physical location is no longer a limiting factor. You're not worried about, well, that's too far to meet with somebody, or, I can't get to that place. It's, way too far out there. Now you turn on the computer, you use Zoom, and you can connect with anyone.
Yeah, and there are some organizations that are event driven, things like nonprofits that have annual fundraisers and dinners and so on and so forth. And a lot of them are wondering what to do. But Zoom is a wonderful platform to actually hold meetings. You can promote things doing YouTube videos. And the bottom line is, you and I are both members of the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce, and they always have their annual meeting on the fourth Monday in June, which is today. And normally that's in the Pond House in West Hartford with 200 people for dinner. And the West Hartford Chamber, which has reinvented themselves in many ways, including having networking meetings through Zoom that are still drawing 40 people every single week. Tonight we're having the annual meeting, and it's, instead of a $50 meal ticket, it's $15 to attend the meeting. But what they're doing is you can actually go out and get meals for pickup to enjoy while you're attending the meeting, and you can donate meals to the workers out there that the restaurant's going to deliver. And we brought in sponsors, and the bottom line is we have a lot more awards that we're giving out than normal. And they got the bright idea that, if you have the awards, you can actually have grandma and grandpa in Milwaukee get on tonight to see you receive your award, where they're obviously not going to come to a meeting. So this could open up. It's going to be interesting to see what the attendance is tonight, but it opens up all kinds of doors. And for nonprofit organizations, what they still have going for them is their supporters, and they can do things like online events, online wine tastings, online auctions, and so on and so forth. If you think outside the box, you can still put these things together. And again, if you get your supporters together, it can happen. So you nonprofits and other people out there who are saying, I can't do anything physical anymore, think again. This is a tool where you can think of ways to still make things happen virtually.
Right. Even things that wouldn't seem like they can be done virtually can. There is an app. I work with the Connecticut Humane Society, and obviously we can't be doing big dog walks, but there is an app where you can track your progress in your own little dog walk, upload your distance, your time, and that people can sponsor you for per mile, for the whole walk, however you want to do it. But it's been moved online because now we've got mobile phones that can track how far you're walking. Watches, Fitbits, things like that can track. The apps are available to move parts of this online and to do things separately. So I know there are several races that people program in their course. They run their race, their app times them, they upload the results to the server, and the server gets it from all of the runners, and it says who the winner is. This is the fastest time. You would never think something like a race could be done virtually, but they've found a way to do it. For nonprofits, yes, there are tons now of virtual auctions. And a lot of the nonprofits that I work with have been using these virtual auctions even before the pandemic, because what they're doing is they have the silent auction, but instead of the old way of doing it where you go to a piece of paper in front of your item and you sign and however much you're bidding, it's all done on your phone. Well, since it's all done on your phone, moving it to virtual is simple. Just instead of at the end of an event picking up your item, it's shipped to you.
Yeah, and I've even been to events where at the event physically they have this number where you can call in and make donations. Say you're looking to raise $3,000 for this in the next 20 minutes or something like that for a cause, and they give you a phone number to just dial in to text your donation, and all the results start showing up on a board and so on and so forth, and it gets everybody going to do that. And I've seen this work at a few places. It's amazing. And this is something that I'm sure that can be done virtually too, where you're showing the results on Zoom. So, I mean, these fundraising tools, they're available out there. And, what we're doing is making people aware of them today. But if you go out and you look and you brainstorm, there are ways where you don't have to do it physically. There's a whole lot more you can accomplish than you thought. And there's more things that you can accomplish virtually than you ever dreamed possible, because the bottom line is your logistics, such as travel and meals and all this other kind of things, you don't have to do that. If you can do this thing virtually, you can do it anytime, anywhere, for any reason.
Exactly. I'm having so many more meetings than I did before because there's no travel time between meetings. It's, take one meeting. All right, we end the meeting. I click into another Zoom meeting. I don't have to worry about getting places. So I've been able to get more meetings in, meet with more people, expand my network more. The key is you really have to think outside of the box, get out of your comfort zone and look at the technology that's available. I know there are so many people that they have a smartphone, but they really just use it as a phone. There's so much more you can do with it, whether it's a phone, a tablet, your computer. And you can also see how these things can work together. But you have to put the effort in and, take that leap out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And your bigger businesses are really starting to put these things to work too. I mean, a lot of people obviously are working from home, and that's going to be the new normal for a lot of businesses too. So they have to really, really commit to their people to communicate with them what's going on. They're redoing their workspaces and designing things. I mean, that whole demographic is going to be changing also. And I think what's going to happen is, by seeing a lot more people working from home, you're going to see a lot of people getting closer together, family lives improving, and so on. I mean, it's having an effect right now. Um, my son-in-law, my son is a teacher. He's been home for paternity leave, but my daughter-in-law has been home for maternity leave, and now that she's back, she's been working virtually from her home because she's a CPA for a public corporation out of New York City, and I don't think she's going to be going back there anytime too soon. So there's a lot of good things going on, but obviously there's a lot of uncertainty for people that are out there too. So it's a great time for big companies, a lot of which are already doing this, to re-engage with their employees and really take them to heart. That's just the way the new normal is going to work.
Yes, it's been estimated that large companies are going to keep between 30 and 50% of their workforce working at home. I know there are a number of large corporations who have already announced they're not even going to bother bringing their workforce back to the offices until at least next year. So it really is a new world. And you also have to look at, the domino effect. Well, if large companies are keeping 30 to 50% of their workforce home, what does this do for real estate? Do office complexes need to be as big? Can you rent less space? Or are you still going to need the space going forward so you can physically distance? So, each decision triggers investigation into the next decision, and you really do have to follow through and figure out what the whole picture is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking strategic planning to a whole new level, but I mean, you still have to look at the logistics, the reasonableness of doing things, the finances, and you have to play all the what ifs, and you got to look at it now and in the future. And your model of offline, online products and services really drives the whole thing as far as finances and space and so on and so forth. Because how you're doing things, what you're doing with things, it's all related.
Right. And you do have to figure out what works for your business. I know right now, live venues are having a lot of problems because to meet physical distancing standards, they can't have enough people in their venue to actually afford to put on the shows. Movie theaters are just about to open. A lot of them, depending on where they are going to have different difficulties. If you're going to a movie theater in New York City, there's going to have to be a lot of physical distancing, so they're going to have a lot fewer people be able to get tickets to each show. On the other hand, if you're going to the movie theater in Middletown, Connecticut, where I happen to live, I've never seen that movie theater even close to full, even before all of this. So they'll be fine because they didn't have that many people going in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, there's restaurants, for instance, they were just able to open as far as I think 50% capacity in Connecticut, but there are some restaurants there. You look at your pizza places and so on and so forth, and Chinese restaurants that they rely a whole lot on takeout orders anyway, and a lot of those places are taking a look at what the overhead would be to reopen to get people back in there at 50% less capacity and whether it's worth it because of what the cost of running the business is with people inside versus just doing takeout. I mean, it's not automatic that this is going to happen too. I mean, fortunately, it's summertime right now, so the outdoor dining is working, and a lot of places can do more of that than they ever have before. But once it starts getting cool out, I think you're going to be seeing a whole change as far as that goes too. And I know you talked about 30% of the businesses being gone. I'm sure a lot of those are going to be related to this type of thing where, they can't use their buildings to full capacity anymore, and yet their expenses aren't going to be going down proportionally like that.
Exactly. It's actually expected that a large group of the businesses that won't be able to survive this are restaurants, unfortunately. So, because especially since businesses that were considered essential got to stay open. Well, essential businesses tended to be supermarkets, Walmart, Target, where small businesses were forced to close. So now people have actually gotten used to getting what they need at other places from these small businesses. And we really do need to support small businesses and keep them going because that is the main driver of our economy, especially local economies. The local areas get a lot more tax revenue, and a lot more of what they need when you shop at a small business than when you shop at a big box store. So you really do need to support your local businesses and help your community.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where it's so important to not only support them, but to publicize the fact that they're out there. I mean, one of the really neat things that the West Hartford Chamber did is they actually put together a business site to promote all the businesses that are open in West Hartford. And you start seeing, as a general thing, we have a person in the chamber that does the sign saying we're open. And you see those things all over the place promoting things. But the best thing we can do as a community is to support them by telling other people, hey, this place is open. Go eat outside at this place. This place has got a great farmers market going on, but supporting the local economy is so important via word of mouth. And that's also something that you can put in your social media on Facebook and even start promoting things with, getting YouTube channels up. I think YouTube channels for businesses are going to be a lot bigger tool moving ahead as a reference for different things that you can do.
Absolutely. Video has been growing in leaps and bounds. So we're just about at the end of our time. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway this week?
The bottom line is that if you think outside the box and you plan, there's a whole lot more opportunities out there than you could ever dream of to get things going. So basically, stay positive about things. collaborate with other people, and do your research, and things can and will work out. Keep plugging away.
Absolutely. I think the big takeaway is that as many obstacles as there have been, there are that many opportunities for you to look at. Get out of your comfort zone and look at what you can turn your business or career into. We're not all the way through this. We're expecting a second wave, so we don't know how things are going to move forward. Be adaptable. That's really the key. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at xvadio.com/podcast. You can also find us on the Apple Podcasts app, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. See you then.